shows it. Fighting man. He's throwing dynamite. Simon staggers along the rope. The left misses, but the right doesn't. And Simon goes down in his own corner. But once more the bell saves him. This attack ends it. Simon was counted out, or that referee Joseph stopped the fight. Anyhow, Joe Louis still stands head and shoulders over all competition. Who can beat him? Somewhere there is a boy who can, who will. See the pictures in this theater of Louis's next big fight.
So Abe Simon and Joe Louis go out for the Army Relief Fund, 1941. Joe Louis would take on Buddy Baer for the Navy Relief Fund. And both those fights were for charity. Joe Louis would give up his entire purse for both the Army and the Navy Relief Fund. And that's where his tax problems would begin. March 27, 1942 was the rematch between Joe Louis and the Brown Bomber, Abe Simon. Abe Simon had a 45-pound weight advantage over Joe Louis. As you can see here, Joe Louis was 27 years old and Abe Simon was 26 years old. Joe Louis was 206 pounds and Abe Simon was 254 pounds. Abe Simon was 6'4" and Joe Louis was 6'1½". Louis had a 76.5-inch reach, and Abe Simon had an 82 3/4-inch reach. We're looking into the Joe Louis scrapbook. Abe Simon and Joe Louis. Now, this whole book is Abe Simon and Joe Louis. $125,000, $150,000. That's what the expectations are for that bout with Mike Jacobs. And everyone cashed in on this fight for Joe Louis. It's amazing. Jack Blackburn would die in Chicago. Matty Seaman would take over Joe Louis's career as far as his training regimens were concerned. Now we see Joe Louis and Abe Simon. And these two were scheduled to fight in Madison Square Garden. The fight would end in 6 rounds. But then you see here Billy Conn. Now Joe Louis was supposed to fight Billy Conn in 1942. Billy Conn would break his hand. He had an issue with his father-in-law. And Billy Conn would ask his wife to make him a sandwich. She would make a comment. Something, I guess, to the effect of, you can do it yourself. He got mad and got up. Father stepped in between the two. Got to go through me. So they would fight up and down the stairs, going down the basement. Break his hand. Never get an opportunity to fight Joe Louis in 1942. Now, they would meet each other in 1946, after the war was over. But they wouldn't fight each other in 1942. So instead, Joe Louis would meet Buddy Baer. And this would be for the Navy Relief Fund. Just show you a little bit more of this scrapbook here with Joe Louis and Abe Simon. Here you have Joe Louis and Billy Conn talking about their potential fight that should be coming up in a few weeks. It doesn't happen because of what I just explained to you. As you can see here, Chappie, Jack Blackburn, age 59. Joe Louis got the news in the middle of training camp. He suffers from pneumonia. He promised Jack Blackburn that he would get rid of Abe Simon in 3 rounds. Couldn't do it. It went 13 rounds in the first fight. Second fight went 6 rounds. I just want to show you Jimmy Cannon. Here's Sergeant Jimmy Cannon. This is Jimmy Cannon. Now, he's the guy who Joe Louis would respond to him when he asked him a question. How many rounds do you think he'll go? And he lifted up one thumb and said 1 round. That was the fight between him and Max Schmeling, 1938. That's Jimmy Cannon. Just wanted to show you Jimmy Cannon. And here, get a better, my dog barking there. Trying to get a better view here. Simon was 48 pounds heavier than the champion, Joe Louis. Weighs in at 255.5 pounds. And that's remarkable. The fight was stopped in 6 rounds at Madison Square Garden. I can show you this all day. This entire book is Joe Louis and Abe Simon. Every career that Joe Louis has, I have a book for it, separate book for that one fighter. And I'm just skimming around a little bit here. All right, we'll move on. One last thing on this particular fight. Army well represented at ringside. 4,000 recruits. The officers sit in on title battle. Holman Williams loses. Now, Holman Williams was on that card. One thing about Holman Williams, him and Joe Louis, they had the same management. And when Joe Louis first came over to Chicago, he was taught by Holman Williams to throw combinations. And the combination that he knocked out Billy Conn with in 1941 was the same combination that Holman Williams would show him. That was a beautiful combination. And we're going to look at that fight in a moment. And I'll point out that combination that I'm explaining to you right now. And this here, the 1942, April 4th, 1942. Joe Louis and Khan, they were waiting for the approval, but Billy Khan had broke his hand, like I stated, so he couldn't fight him then, so he had to wind up waiting until 1946. So in comes Buddy Baer. We'll look at a few more things here. Joe Louis opens new bowling alley in the city. He went into the bowling business, and this was part of his financial. Oh boy, I'm trying to get this camera to focus here. Okay, although he's still a private in the Army, Joe Louis is going into bowling business. And he went into the punch business. He went all over the place, and restaurant business, as you can see. And that's where his money went, all over the place. It was never kept track of. And he wound up going out of business, bankrupt. He owed the government so much money. It was just very sad what happened with Joe Louis. So let's look at one more thing here. Now here you see Joe Louis and Jack Blackburn. The man to your right here, his name is Jack Casey. He was a very good cut man. And he used to be a cut man for Joe Louis. You don't hear much about him. It's Joe Louis and Blackburn. Edward Doc Casey is his name. You see Joe Louis in his uniform here. May 23rd, 1941. Joe Louis knocks out Buddy Baer. Referee was Arthur Donovan. Joe's 17th title defense, 10-1 betting favorite. First heavyweight championship held in Washington, D.C. 22,912 spectators. Generate $105,183 for that fight. Joe Louis stood 6 foot 1.5 inches. He weighed 202 pounds, and he had a 76-inch reach. Walked in with a fighting career record of 48 wins, 1 loss, 41 knockouts. And he earned $34,616 for that fight. As for Buddy Baer, he stood 6 foot 6 inches, weighed 237 pounds, had an 84-inch reach. And he came in with a record of 57 wins, 5 losses, 51 knockouts. And he earned $12,981 for that fight. Joe Louis was sent through the ropes in the first round. Buddy Baer goes through the ropes in the 6th round. Timekeeper was Charlie Reynolds, and he counted out Baer. But referee Arthur Donovan has stopped the count because of the bell. And it would make a very controversial fight. Because as the bell rang, Joe Louis threw a punch, and it landed exactly when the bell rang. And Max Baer, who was the radio broadcast announcer, who was sitting at ringside, made a comment that shook everybody up. He said, "One thing I would never do is hit a man after the bell." And since they didn't have the playback footage in that particular fight at that time, they went by what Max Baer said. And Buddy Baer, who was basically dazed, followed the lead of what everybody else was saying. Yes, he hit me after the bell. He had no idea what happened. So for that reason, Buddy Baer would step in because Bob Pastor would be getting that fight. This all happened when Billy Khan had to pull out because of a broken hand. So Buddy Baer's opportunity would slide right in. And that was for the Navy Relief Fund. And this would be the second fight between Joe Louis and Buddy Baer. Now, who was Buddy Baer? He was born June 11th, 1915, Denver, Colorado. He would reside in Sacramento, California. Died July 18th, 1986. 71 years of age at the time of his death. He fought from 1934 to 1942. Had a total bout career of 62 fights, 55 wins, 7 losses, 51 knockouts, and he was stopped 7 times. I met Buddy Baer. Friday, January 9th, 1942, Madison Square Garden. Referee, Frank Fuller. Stopped about 2 minutes and 56 seconds in the first round. Joe's 19th title defense. 27 years old. 51 wins. 1 loss. 43 knockouts. For Lewis. Baer was 26 years old. He had a record of 57 wins. 6 losses. 51 knockouts. Remarkable. Now, Buddy Baer is training for his opportunity with Joe Louis. This is his second opportunity. And this time it's for a title shot. His brother got a title shot with Primo Carnera, and he lost it to Jimmy Braddock at the Madison Square Garden Bowl. But when Max Baer fought Joe Louis in 1935, Louis wasn't the champion yet. So Buddy Baer will be the only Baer brother to get a title shot with the Brown Bomber Joe Louis. As you can see here, this is the official signing of the fight with Buddy Baer and Joe Louis. At the New York State Athletic Commission. Buddy Baer and Joe Louis square up for their contest. There was a $200,000 gate for that particular fight. That's what Jacobs hopes. Navy Relief Fund, $100,000. You can see here, tail of the tape. Joe Louis is 27 years old and Buddy Baer is 26 years old. Joe Louis was 205 pounds and Buddy Baer was 245 pounds. Buddy Baer was 6'6.5" and Louis was 6'1.5". Joe Louis and Max Baer. Now, as I show you these pictures with Joe Louis and Buddy Baer, this is a different book. This is Joe Louis and Buddy Baer. And every fight photo and newspaper article of that fight is in this one book alone. And here you have Joe Louis in the first round goes through the ropes. And Max Baer thought Buddy Baer thought he had him out of there. And Max Baer, who was at ringside calling the fight, stood up and he was overwhelmed because he couldn't believe his brother actually dropped Joe Louis like that. He thought he was going to knock him out, and it didn't happen. So on a radio broadcast, Max Baer made a statement that he would never hit a man after the bell. And since there was no review footage at that time, they went by what Max Baer said. And Joe Louis was vilified for hitting a man after the bell. So they had to do one thing and run it back. All right, let's go back to the first round for a second. He traded lefts and Louis closed in. As you can see what happened. Uppercut to the chin. Louis hooks. A left to the head. And this just gives you a breakdown of what happened on the eyes of the reporter at that time. Let me just move on. Now what you see here is Buddy Baer and his outfit, along with the commission. They go through the rule book. And they try and justify why this fight was unjust because they wanted a rematch. And Buddy Baer struck gold because he would fight Joe Louis in the championship bout for the Navy Relief Fund. And he would rack up. In fact, he would only have... In fact, that was his last fight, I believe. I believe that was Buddy Baer's last fight with Joe Louis. Second Joe Louis fight. He cashed in. And he earned all his money as Joe Louis put it up for charity. So I just want to show you Grantland Rice. He was a newspaper editor. And he would write columns in his paper. I have a lot of his articles. And he was in favor of Joe Louis all the time. It was him and Jimmy Cannon, all newspapermen. And one day I'll show you a lot of these newspaper writers. I have a lot of their articles. Here, Glenn and Rice once again. Buddy Baer must attack win in order to win. And here's a tail of the tape. And this scrapbook is, the entire book is Joe Louis and Buddy Baer. .500 pages. Or Joe Louis and Buddy Baer. A lot of good write-ups by this writer, Garland Rice.
On Buddy Baer, surely referee Arthur Donovan having a very, very close look at what's going on inside there, and somehow Buddy Baer bravely finds the resolve to come back firing shots of his own. He's in control. Oh, and the right hand did it again. He gets to his feet. Any moment, surely. He's going to go down, and he does. Arthur Donovan takes a look. Oh, and the fight goes on again, but this time he's down once more. The cornermen were in there. They thought the bell had gone to end the fight. The corner are arguing that there was an illegal blow from Joe Louis, showing superior speed already. Surprising how many times already that Louis has made. Oh, good hand, good left hand. And Louis is out and in trouble. Well, he's back to his feet. But
Now, I want to show you a fight that took place 1926 and 1927. Here you have Jack Dempsey to your left and Gene Tunney to your right. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because Gene Tunney was a light heavyweight. He was America's light heavyweight champion. Had 5 fights with Harry Greb. But Gene Tunney moved up in weight to challenge Jack Dempsey. There was only a few men in history that was able to do that. Now, Harry Greb could do that. He just never got the chance because Jack Dempsey wouldn't give him the chance. But Harry Greb was originally a light heavyweight. He went down to the middleweight division. After he defeated Gene Tunney, 1922, to become the America's light heavyweight champion, then he went down to the middleweight division and he defeated Harlem's Johnny Wilson, 1923, to become the middleweight champion of the world. Let's take a look at my self-defense magazine. I have every issue of the self-defense magazine. This one here is Jack Dempsey and Joe Louis. I'm sorry, Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney. I don't know where my mind is today. And this was leading up to that particular fight. In the same way that Joe Louis and Billy Conn fight was hyped up. This is the way this fight was hyped up, because Jack Dempsey's been away for 3 years, and he didn't fight Harry Wells. Instead, he challenged Gene Tunney. Because of the purse. It would be a bigger purse for him, but he didn't want a part of Harry Wells at that point in time. He neglected Harry Wells since 1919. And this fight here would be taking place at Soldiers Field in Chicago. This was the rematch, the famous long count, between Gene Tunney and Jack Dempsey. Jack Dempsey at Soldiers Field. Leo P. Flynn, very good manager, along with Jimmy DeFrost. Jimmy DeFrost, in case you don't know, was an outstanding manager, but he also was a good trainer. He wrote a couple of books. I have every last one of those. They're instruction books. He used to have a cigar, and he wanted, at one point in time, he wanted to have Kid Norfolk under his training camp. And Kid Norfolk and Panama Alcans went into the training camp, and they were told to take it easy on a young man by the name of Bill Brennan. He was going to fight Jack Dempsey, in 1920. And Panama Joe Gans couldn't help himself. He jabbed him half to death, and then when Kid Norfolk got in the ring, he beat him half to death. And that word got back to Jack Dempsey, and that kind of ruined it for all of these fighters, Harry Wells included, with Jack Dempsey. But Leo P. Flynn, he was something else. Very good manager he was. Him and Tamaraki, they were known for having a lot of black fighters in their camp. And this is the famous long count. Took place in 1927 Soldiers Field. Referee was Dave Baer. And Battling Nelson had a stopwatch. He's the famous world champion. And he said the fight was 14 seconds. That's what the clock said. That was according to Battling Nelson's stopwatch. And it went up in the papers in every city. As 14 seconds, the man was down. This is before the fight footage was actually revealed. And it caused so much controversy. But Gene Tunney was successful in defeating a heavyweight, Jack Dempsey. There's always questions on what would happen between Sam Langford and Joe Louis. And I have a lot of articles on those different outcomes, according to the writer. But that would have been interesting. We're making parallels as to Jack Blackburn, his training for Joe Louis, and he fought Sam Langford 6 times. Very interesting. Here you have Mickey Walker. This fight took place, as you can see here, it's July 22nd, 1931. That's when this article actually came out. This is the front page of the New York Daily News. Jack Sharkey and Mickey Walker. And what's amazing about this fight, it wound up becoming a draw. And this is before Jack Sharkey would defeat Max Schmeling and become the heavyweight champion of the world. So it's possible that a smaller man can go up and become the heavyweight champion of the world. But the questions were, could Billy Conn do it? Now this is in plastic, so you have to excuse the glare. Mickey Walker, the toy bulldog. He was out of Elizabeth, New Jersey. He was something else with Mickey Walker. Very good fighter he was. They called him the Toy Bulldog. He was a welterweight champion and a middleweight champion. Phenomenal fighter he actually was. When Joe Louis faced Tommy Farr, 1937, it was his first title defense after he defeated James Braddock. He wanted to fight this man in a rematch, and they would have another fight in 1938. And that would be Max Schmeling. They called him the Black Yulin. Very good fighter was Max Schmeling. So I'm in this video, and the next video we're going to look at is going to be Billy Conn and Joe Louis, 1941. We'll listen to the broadcast. One of the greatest broadcasts with Don Dunphy. That was his first radio call. So thanks for hanging in there with me. Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs Series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Everyone have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you guys after the holidays. Salute.